wook+live.
What's up, Gav?
How we doing?
It's kind of like when the pilot gets sick all of a sudden,
Right.
and the two co-pilots are stuck flying the plane.
There we are. Welcome to wook+live, the special Wook Hang episode, because we decided that you guys really just wanted to listen to us for an hour. Tim will
right.
be here in a second. Let's jump off. How was your week, T?
I think it was really because how do you follow up last week's show with anything this week? Like,
We didn't want to embarrass anybody or
it
anything.
was so damn good. So we figured we'd just take a mellow week. Doing good. How are you doing? What's new?
I'm fantastic. I'm trying to go see Pigeons on Friday. And then Disco Biscuits on Saturday, and apparently they're going to have horns Saturday night at the Anthem with them. So that should be an interesting
with horns
show.
is worth seeing. That's for sure.
Yeah,
There's some
but
good music this weekend.
yeah,
You're going. That's good.
It's 2 nights in DC in a row, though. It's going to DC to the 9:30 Club Friday, coming home, and sucks. Have you ever driven into DC?
Oh yeah,
It's the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, LA might be worse. I've never driven there, but DC is it's every idiot from all over the country drives in DC.
And you get to do it on the weekend nights too. That's
When I went and saw Alice in Chains at Nissan Pavilion, I felt like I drove for 2 days to get there, having to drive through Baltimore, through DC, into Virginia.
Yeah,
it's the
we
worst.
should bring back game night. I agree.
We should
That's
bring
a good
back
point.
game night.
Totally. Yeah, I got the same thing this week. I'm going to see Taper's Choice at least one night on Saturday night. I think they're doing a DJ set tomorrow night, and then a show Saturday and a show Sunday late afternoon. I probably won't make this Sunday show because it's too early, but it's driving all the way out to Pasadena, which from here is a trek to get out there. But
LA is the definition of sprawl.
It is. We live on the freeways, and they all go so slow, so you literally are camping on them most of the time. So
yeah, I'm glad. I haven't driven really in 3.5 years. So
oh yeah,
I'm digging that. Yes,
how
I
you
can
getting
walk.
to DC?
Well, I rent a car. I can rent a car once a week and do everything I need in one day. And so I pay $100 there instead of $300 for a car payment plus insurance plus everything. You know what's up?
I think Elon Musk took over StreamYard because all of a sudden none of this shit fucking works for me. How'd you guys do?
We did great. We talked a little bit about
we...
traffic in LA and DC, and
great.
We got the plane off the ground, and we're okay.
We were at cruising altitude.
That's right.
Man. Well, you know what? With this kind of a throwback, I was getting really nostalgic earlier today, thinking about how far the channel's come. I read the comments that everybody posts on the YouTube videos, and like we're getting a lot of engagement with like folks that like, you know, had never engaged with the channel before. And you know, I was thinking back to those early episodes on Zoom where like Kev would lose his internet every time the wind blew, and we'd all just be completely shit-faced, hiding out in our houses, and
he was sitting on the floor.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm glad we're doing the Wook Hang. Listen, I know it's like maybe it's not as exciting as having Bob Mink. And by the way, that episode last week was fucking phenomenal. That guy has.
We touched on that while you were gone. That's why we said we weren't having a guest this week. Is how do you follow up?
You couldn't ask somebody to follow that up. It was incredible.
I have reached out to, maybe I put some good juju out there. I reached out to Doug Irwin, maker of Irwin Jerry's guitars, and I reached out to Dennis McNally, their old publicist. So maybe we can get a bunch of Deaden related guests in anticipation of Deaden Company's final tour.
I feel like that's all we've had. I gotta take booking over. You put the old deadhead in charge of booking, and it's all.
I like it though. He's doing a good job getting them.
It's all my old
fascinating.
It's my old deadhead friends on Facebook. See,
no.
This is all coming from Facebook,
right?
Boomer. No, so you have been killing it. Well done. But honestly, with all the hiccups, technology, otherwise, I'm kind of still glad that we're doing this like Wook Hang, because that's how it all started, right? Was hanging out, and I hopefully team chat will engage a bit with us today, and you know, and we'll have some good conversation. But this is kind of where we all started, so it's good to get back to the roots. Yeah, man. So I think the big news that we've been talking about in our thread and over the last few days is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. What is it? Nominees now or inductees?
Nominees?
It's nominees.
Well, it's the fan thing. So they put out a whole list of names, and then the top 5 of them are going to be one of them. I don't know how exactly it works.
You
It says-
explained this to me brilliantly before the show, and now that we're live, you're like, I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about.
Okay, so here's what happens. They do the fan thing, which includes Cyndi Lauper, Warren Zevon, Joy Division, New Order, a bunch of people, Missy Elliott, Iron Maiden, goes on, and we vote on them. The top 5 are then put against each other, and the fans vote on them. Those 5 people have 1 vote each from all the fans. So basically 600,000 fans vote for Warren Zevon, and he gets on the top 5. He gets 1 vote from
Right. That
the
goes
nominating
against
ballot.
that goes against the panel that's like over 1,000 insiders and shit. So really
Right.
it's kind of like a nod, but it doesn't really mean shit as far as the selection. The selection's really done by the insiders.
It's rigged, the whole thing. So we have Kate
rigged.
Bush. I say Kate Bush is not even a rock and roller. Tim was not familiar. Are you familiar with her, T?
Yeah, of course.
She does Wuthering Heights. She was in with Peter Gabriel, that whole scene, but I don't know. Next was Rage Against the Machine.
I think Rage deserves it. I mean, maybe I'm partial because I like not grew up, but like I really like them. But I mean, it's fucking hard rock. Like, forget the political stuff, the lyrics and everything. Like, it is a very unique sound. You listen to Rage Against the Machine song or album, you know exactly who it is the second you're listening to it. And fucking did something, right? There was a message. There was like something to the music.
What's the like, how long do you have to be around to get into the hall?
25 years. Yeah,
25 years since your first album.
It's your first album. Okay. I mean, I will say Kate Bush has had quite the resurgence this year with her song on Stranger Things and stuff.
And that seems to be why she made the list.
That's what that thing really blew up 25 years later or whatever it is.
Next year, well, I don't know if Linda Ronstadt's already in, but with her song on The Last of Us last night.
Right. Right.
Do you think Phish is ever going to make it?
When one of them dies.
It's going to take that? It seems kind of fucked up, though, to me. Like, obviously, like...
Well, that's what I was saying, like, with Rage and things like that. Like, it seems so early to put them in, I guess. I don't know. I still feel like they're around and, like, I mean, I know they're not... Yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. I feel like to go in the Hall of Fame, you know, like every other sport, it's like you retire and then you wait 5 years or whatever it is, and then you get your nominations or your eligibility to kind of get in. With the Rock Hall of Fame, it's like, I don't know, every year it's a controversy, first of all, because there's always a band or two that people are like, what the fuck, how are they getting in? And I guess that's kind of what it's all about, because controversy brews watchability and conversation and stuff, so it makes it in the conversation. But I mean, somebody like Warren Zevon, that seems like a no-brainer to me, right? Like,
and it's his first time, first nominee,
which is crazy too. Like, it's like, and he's dead, and it's like, come on, you know, like,
he checks all the boxes. He's dead. He got a hit song.
So I don't know. It's definitely a weird. I don't know. The Rock Hall of Fame has always been kind of a weird thing, exactly. Like Willie Nelson, yes. Like George Michael. See, then you start talking about what is rock. Is it really rock and roll, or is it just like a music Hall of Fame, which sounds like more?
Can one of you pull up the last class so we can see who like the most recent inductees are to give me like a sense of, you know, who's making it?
I tell you, a name that's on there that really jumped out at me that I love is Sheryl Crow getting a nod.
Right. Well, there's, and
she's a rocker
too. It's like
Kate
Bush, Sheryl Crow, Missy Elliott. So like, and then Cyndi Lauper. It's an interesting women sort of
Last year we had Pat Benatar, Duran Duran, Eminem, the Eurythmics, Dolly Parton, Lionel Richie, and Carly Simon. So not the only rockers in that whole group to me are Duran Duran and Pat Benatar. The rest of them aren't even rock and roll.
Remember when we used to play Duran Duran on the channel just to see if we would get copyright flagged? And like that bit lasted for like 2 shows because both times we got popped.
Girls on film.
Yeah, I don't know, because at first when like this whole topic came up, I was getting all fired up. I was like, maybe we can like rally the community and like find out who these insiders are and like do a whole year-long campaign and set this shit right. But then it's like the
Dox
more,
them.
yeah, right. But the more you talk about it, I'm like, I don't care, right? Like it's a fucking who gives a shit.
Right, but my thing is the Spinners are nominated. I love the Spinners. My ringtone for
What
my
tier are
youngest kid
they?
is a Spinners song. The
Well, there's a
Spinners
good
are an
segue.
R&B group. I get around. I mean, you know. And then
I
they
love
have
when
Willie
you-
Nelson, who is a country artist. Willie Nelson is not a rock and roll guy. Songwriter Hall of Fame, first round ballot, first
Country
year.
Music Hall of Fame. Again, it's
Rock
not
and
the
roll?
Rock and Roll Hall. It's the Music Hall of Fame. Is how you
I
have to look
well,
at
I
it.
don't know if I agree with you though. I think country music counts as a subgenre of rock.
No way.
Yeah,
But
dude.
do they put rockers in the Country Music Hall of Fame?
No, because I feel like
Right.
rock is like an umbrella, though. Like in
Right,
my
which is-
opinion, right? Like it's a 2 and 4 backbeat. It's a driving straight rhythm,
It's
right?
rock and roll, though, is what they call it, which is a specific thing, not just rock music. It's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
So then
So
it's
country
like-
has the rock, but it's lacking in the rolls.
Yeah, we got both kinds.
But then you're putting you have rap, you have R&B, you have country, you have all of these different things going into it. So it's again Music Hall of Fame. George Michael,
Right.
like is George Michael rock? No, he's pop. Is pop
Right.
considered rock and roll? I guess it's part of the roll part, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. It sounds like Phish needs to be in this fucking thing.
Right.
Maybe we should pull together. I mean, if any community could do it, besides, I
Don't
think
they
we
have
should.
something in the Hall of Fame though? Isn't the hot dog in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, no, they are in the actual building several times,
Right.
ironically, but not.
They
They
not
haven't
as a
gotten
band.
the award yet.
Did you
But-
guys? Fine, good.
Well, I was going to say, and then you have A Tribe Called Quest and Missy Elliott, fantastic hip hop artist. Tribe Called Quest deserves
Right,
all
but they're
the
not
accolades.
inductees though. They're just nominees with.
Right, but they aren't rock and roll either, are they? I mean, maybe
I
the
don't give a
question
shit
is-
about that. No, I honestly though, I don't think that is the argument because I feel like that gets like nitpicky in this gray area and gets gatekeeping and shit. I don't
Well,
think it's like, oh, this is rock and this isn't. Like, I don't know. For me, that's not the argument. The argument is, why the fuck is Phish not in there? They're a much better band than all these motherfuckers.
And they're a rock and roll band. I mean, the true rock and roll bands this year, it looks like Rage, Soundgarden, White
Iron
Stripes.
Maiden.
You could put in there. Iron
Wait,
Maiden.
so is Soundgarden in there because Chris Cornell died? Is that
That's what I was saying, and I feel like they should get in because
Absolutely
again, it's like the Warren
should.
Zevon thing. He's dead. Like, put him in. They deserve to be in there.
yeah.
And then Joy Division, would you call Joy Division New Order rock? I would. It's post-punk. You
Yeah, I don't know, man.
That gets in that gray area again. I guess it's part of the roll part. I don't know, like because it's not really emo
Rock and
rock.
roll.
I
It
don't
isn't-
know.
And what about Cyndi Lauper? I call that rock and roll. Girls just want to have fun. That's pure good
Yeah.
time rock and roll.
Not pop though. I mean, then aren't you saying Sheryl Crow? You bitched about Sheryl Crow. Isn't that kind of
No,
like-
I'm good with Sheryl Crow.
Okay.
I'm okay with
Okay.
that one.
Okay.
I mean, that Tuesday Night Music Club is one of the best debuts ever.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she had definitely a moment or two or three.
I saw a live stream of her last summer at some festival, and I knew almost every song. Didn't even realize that
So
she had
proud of
done
you.
that many songs, that you'd recognize.
Just singing along.
Just singing along. Time of my life.
I think. All right, I have a legitimate, serious question. You think Goose is gonna beat Phish into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
No.
I'm just trying to do this terrible segue into Goose because
I don't think that Goose will last as long as Phish does. I think that at some point, maybe 10 years from now, it'll dissolve and
so
Rick will do other things.
Well, didn't we say that the lead the solo act would take
Yeah.
over at some point?
He's going to get some manager in his ear. You'll be huge. You could be the next
Right.
John
It's
Mayer.
these guys. You're the band, man.
I love, by the way, you want to get the chat all fired up. Just wait. So, Kev, you're saying that Goose will dissolve in 10 years, which we'll set that aside and we'll address that in a second, possibly. But that means you think Phish is still going to be going strong in 10 years. Like they're going to hit their 50th anniversary and still be going.
I have them on a
Kev's the one that
5-year.
says the 5 year. Kev has a bet on 5 years. So
like Goose will outlast Phish.
But they aren't going to get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame before them.
I don't know, man. They're gonna be more mainstream and shit. I think they
Is
already
Dave
are.
Matthews in?
It's a good
I compare them
question.
to the Dave Matthews of the new generation of jam bands.
I think they're more Blues Traveler than Dave Matthews.
Yeah, they don't have anybody sucking on a harp though.
Yeah, but they have like, what's his name on the keyboards with the guitar slung over his back. It's kind of that.
That's such a look, man. I love that. The warrior. He's like out there ready to kick some ass.
It's like his
The
bow and
warrior.
arrow.
The
Peter's
warrior's
like
the warrior.
Yeah, man. But all right. So we're gonna. It seems like there's a little bit of Goose bashing, and that's bound to happen every once in a while. But the disclaimer is, I actually do like them, and I enjoyed the last few times I've seen them. And I'm going to see him next month, and I'm really stoked about it. But I think the gravitas, like what do you call it, the hyperbole that surrounds the way people talk about it, lends these conversations to go down those paths. And I think Phish fans were guilty of that, and Deadheads too, like in the early '90s and stuff, right? And like there's similar things,
Right.
and I still don't think you can compare Phish to the Grateful Dead just as a cultural impact and as this year the band. And I don't think you'll ever be able to compare Goose Phish. But the point is, you don't really have to fucking compare them. Right, if you enjoy it.
Just as a caveat, I will make fun of your band just as quick as I'll make fun of any band. So don't feel like I'm singling your band out if I'm making fun.
Why you got to bring my band into this? Are you mean like you as in like Confucius says? Not
right, yes, the royal you.
It's a
the royal you. So all right. So the reason I bring Goose up, because if you haven't seen, they announced like the completing the summer tour, however they said it. Like we added more dates to finish out our summer tour. And it was like 6 festivals and fucking Stone Pony and SPAC. And I was like, that is a weak fucking tour announcement. You didn't even have to do that. All the festivals were going to release the cards. Like, and they made a whole poster out of it. But they're freaking out.
But they're marketing geniuses. They do that to push the tickets and everything else, Yeah. So they're smart doing that. My thing is, they're playing SPAC. And from what I hear, they're only selling tickets for the pavilion. There isn't going to be a lawn full of people there. It's just going to be basically an outdoor gig under a shed, which I find fascinating.
Cool. I mean, it's like an in-between step, I guess.
Right. It's just, maybe it's to say, hey, we're playing SPAC. Because when they played the Chrysalis Amphitheater, they put Chrysalis Amphitheater at Meriwether Post Pavilion, So...
Well, I think it's the size that they're at, right? They're at that 10,000 venue, and there's not that many venues, right? Like they need that in between.
You really think they're at 10,000? Let's get into tiers. We said we'd talk about tiers a little bit.
Well, yeah.
You attach tiers to venues.
That's where we kind of got in the conversation, was saying, and that's
I love how we're all over the place.
Where it went everywhere, because a tier 1 venue is a stadium, right? So like SoFi, like Meadowland, like whatever.
So Dead and Company, or a Rolling Stones, or a Paul McCartney is a tier 1 band.
Well, let's define that though, because originally we were talking jam band tiers, and I had said that A tier or tier 1 or S tier, whatever, was like baseball stadiums and large sheds, right? Like like soccer stadiums, like Dick's and stuff. But then we realized that like really no jam band, maybe Dead and Co could if they really push it, but really no jam band is A tier, because there's like Paul McCartney sells out giant stadium like overnight,
Dead and Company sell out all the baseball stadiums.
Yeah, but I feel like the NFL stadiums are quite a bit bigger.
Yeah, but Paul McCartney played Camden Yards. He didn't play at Ravens Field.
But
that's one super isolated Maryland specific example, Ken. Yeah. You know what they told me when I started a YouTube channel? They're like, just use really niche topics that are colloquial and local to some obscure area, and people will love it. That's how you get audience retention.
That's how you build.
That's why you called me. Huh?
All right, let's hone this back in. No, this is a good topic, and we're all over the fucking place. So we're bringing it back. Jam bands in general, the biggest ones, Phish and Dead and Co, I think are still like that A-, because there are the bands that are selling out the massive venues.
Right.
Maybe you could say like Phish and Dead and Co go in and out of that, right? Because they're still doing like, what are those like those Tuesday, Wednesday venues? 9,000, 10,000.
9,000 is what Nashville was in 21. Yeah.
You know, like there's
And
still,
the man isn't more than that, maybe 11.
right, but then they also go and do like Camden or Deer Creek or fucking
That's 22.
Alpine is like almost 40, right?
I believe so, yeah.
So
Out in the Midwest.
yeah, so when you put it in that context of like tiers based on like venues and shit, there's really only like Phish and Dead and Co. as far as jam bands on that upper echelon. And then there's kind of a big fallout, right? Like there's not many other bands that can do sheds in this. What do you call it? It's not really a genre.
Right. Well, why don't we put Red Rocks? If
As
you
the
can
next
play Red
one?
Rocks, are you a tier 2?
Yeah, and I would say that's Humphreys, Mo,
Disco,
Disco Biscuits,
Goose.
Goose, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Twiddle almost got there, but then they kind of fell out. Yeah, and then the next level below that would be big clubs and theaters and like,
But
you know,
that's
like
also
Fillmore.
that's where UM and Disco Biscuits live also.
Right, but Phish does the smaller sheds, right? But they can also do the big ones. So you have, I feel like every tier has where you live in this
There's
level.
overlaps from the band
Right.
where they play in the tiers, because
So
that's what we're saying.
So Tab is a tier 2 band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tab is not in the same tier as Phish.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And they also play tier 3 venues as well, I would say, with Tab, because they're playing depending on the city.
They played the Anthem.
Right, and they played like Palladium out here, which is where like J-Rad plays, which is a much smaller venue
Right,
than
a
like
3,000. Let's say a 3,000 seat
Right.
venue.
J-Rad's a crazy fucking story, by the way. Though.
You know, they
And you also have-
canceled. They
you
had
also
to
have like
cancel.
Panic, and Panic plays the Wiltern, which is a smaller theater, but then they also sell out 3 nights at Red Rock. So it's like this very weird overlapping of the city, I think, too, plays a part in it. You know, like obviously, like you said, Midwest, they don't get a lot of Phish shows. So when Phish plays Alpine or whatever, everyone goes.
And they're all so polite to each other. It's, it's
Love
amazing.
and light. Love and light everywhere.
Except for the cops. Did you see that J-Rad canceled their Atlanta shows because someone got COVID?
Bobby gave him COVID.
Bobby passed the torch of COVID to them at their show.
Exactly. All right. So, but then you go down to what? The 1,000, and then you go down even.
So then
further
underneath the like the Fillmore big club, like big bar, you know, theater, I think is the small bars, right? That's like
Taper's Choice, like playing
Taper's Choice.
bars,
And that's how
right.
this whole thing started, was because somebody called them like a
third
tier. And I was like,
they're
that's
like fourth.
yeah, I was like, that's generous, dude. Like that's super generous. Doesn't have anything to do with their skill or anything. I think they're a great band, but
it's venue wise. They're not playing.
In order to play 8x10, one of the requirements is that you can bring in 100 to 150 people. So I would say that that's what they assume your tier is. Like Eggy played there.
Can you?
You know,
book
that
us
place
there?
holds like
I wanna play there.
600. Well, you got to get an opening gig. Get in with one of these Grateful Dead cover bands on a Thursday night and get your band to open.
Well, what you need is Kev to be your manager.
What you need is a
teach you.
manager.
Kev, you want to be my manager?
15%.
Nah, man. Fuck
Pre-gross.
that.
That's a great deal. Some people are paying 25%.
Pink Talking Fish.
It's
is another good
3.5.
band.
Nice.
And actually, that reminds me of another band that I think we're gonna see shoot up. And it's not like I'm like Notre Dame. Like they've already been having a lot of success, but Neighbor, right, the keyboard player for Pink Talking Fish, they've been growing. I think Eggy, you just mentioned Neighbor. That's like that next round of jam bands that are gonna spike up, and we'll see. The cool thing about Goose was that they kept going, right? Because before them, you had like Spafford and
Spafford has breathed new life into themselves with Corey Scheckman on keyboards, replacing Red. If you haven't checked out their YouTube channel, they've been doing every show every night live for free. Fantastic stuff. They're really
and
it's
they've
like a whole new
always been
dawn.
super talented. I feel like in this community, though, one of the issues is like you get cast into like this, typecasted to like, oh, you're this small whatever band, and like it's very hard to break out of. And I think they're phenomenally talented, but I feel like they've been around long enough that they're never. That kind of happened to Mo. I feel like, right? Like Mo, I think is another phenomenal band, but like they were always the Phish after show or like the side.
They hit a glass ceiling, so to
Yeah,
speak.
right. The jam,
Yeah.
goddamn jam band glass ceiling.
I tell you, another band to keep your ear out for is a band out of Oregon called Sponge. They're Sponge Jelly, but they go by SPUNJ.
Is
I
this
think that they're
another band you're managing?
SPUNJ.
What percentage did they give you?
Right, they're part of my roster. Yes, but fantastic stuff. You should check them out and keep your ear out for them. I bet they start showing up at festivals next year, and I think they're on the trajectory that Eggie's on. They're going to get their own full tour within a year or so at the tier 4 clubs, and I think they got places to go. And they're young. I think they're all in their 20s.
So should we like publish this or like take this tier theory and like make something out of it? Because I feel like there's something there.
Right. Well, let me ask you, where does musical, ability come into it? What if, you could sell out a 5,000 seat place, but you suck? I mean, are you still a tier band?
Yeah. And the reason I've resigned myself to this belief, and I'm going to be very honest, painfully honest, is because all y'all's tastes and opinions is terrible. And like, if I would love to tier bands on their ability, skill, and creativeness, but they're not the bands that are selling out the venues and anyone's going to agree with, because most of y'all suck at listening to music. So I think the fairest way to look at it is not you guys, the royal you.
Right. The royal
like
you.
you watching right now, you're awesome. Your taste is golden, but everyone else just fucking
the public
sucks
at large.
Right. No, so I mean, really, they're one. If you look at ticket sales and venues and that you're able to like sell it and stuff, I feel like that is sampling, right? Like it's just the larger average or mean of what the people like, and it's not necessarily the most intricate or most complicated, because there are bands too that are like overly complicated and they lose something. They're no longer a rock band, right? Like, so there's a balance, and I think the fairest way to look at it is how people receive them. Do you want to spend money and time out of your busy ass schedule to go hang out with this and listen to this band? That's what it comes down to.
And I'm usually yes.
Well, the good news is though, with a lot of those bands, and depending on the tier level and the venue, it's not breaking your bank, right? You're not spending $300 to sit in the grass at Berkeley to see Phish, so it's a lot more economically viable. Let's say
I would much rather buy 5 tickets to 5 different shows at $20-$25 a piece than go see Phish once at this point.
Yeah,
if I had $100 that I could spend, I would go see the 3 or 4 shows.
And that's where a lot of, I think, people are at this point, because it's getting a little bit out of hand, especially at certain
Goose
venues.
wants 75 or something. Goose is at 75. I don't see them as a $75 band.
No, I do. I could see that. Is that with fees or without fees?
I think that's without fees for the best seats at SPAC.
Best seats.
Though. Well, the front, the 100 section, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, dude, fucking going to see Goose like at the show is fun as fuck, man. It's like 4 or 5 hours. Yeah, you go to a fucking movie now. By the time you get all your shit and everything, you're spending $60-$70.
Right, but going to see Eggie for $20, I had just as much fun.
Yeah, I get it. You're a cheap ass bitch, and you.
I am.
All right. What I'm curious though, and I want to transition again, because that's why we don't have a guest, so we can just be ADD as fuck. See, I want to see if when Phish comes back out east and finally rewards the true fans on the east, if the prices and everything are as nuts as they are out west. Because I feel like what I'm seeing from this last ticket sales, I don't know, because I always hear like cost of living and incomes and everything on the west is more expensive, but these ticket prices are like insane. Like truly insane. People were talking about that with MSG when it's like, oh, a $200 ticket, $300. What were those prices you were seeing? There was like $1,000 for tickets.
Yeah, I mean,
or $800.
Like, I don't really consider the bowl. It's whatever, because like we talked about on that microdose, the tiering sections of the bowl and the way it like increases astronomically the closer you get. But something like Berkeley, where it's all GA, and from the front to kind of the concrete middle seat section, which are just like giant concrete bench type things, to then the grass is all $300. So like I said, it's during the week. So if you're working or just get in there late and you don't get into the pit or the good seat, you're up top for $300 in the grass.
300, really?
That's insane. $295.
Wow.
And
I
that's
feel like that's a
$900.
West Coast thing, though. I feel like they're like, it's supply and demand, right? They're like, we're only gonna go out here for a couple of shows every year, and we're gonna charge the fuck out of you guys.
I mean, seriously, it's $900 without taxes, I think, for 3 nights, and it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So you're looking
That
at
sell
almost
out.
$1,000. I don't think so. I think there's still some tickets on Ticketmaster.
There's plenty of platinum tickets left.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. What do you need a platinum seat for in general admission? Like there is no. So I don't know.
It's weird though because Phish has like amazing as we all whatever forget the fluffing, but they still have shows where there's tickets on the ground, like fairly often, and that's what's awkward about that pricing is I can foresee a situation where you go out to the Greek and it's not fully sold out, and that you could fucking pick up a Miracle or get a $20 ticket. Yeah, exactly. Lope, and then
which
that's
you're
like
hoping you get from some scalper that paid too much for them or some agency instead of some poor kid or whatever
guy,
that
right,
paid for it
stuck
and
with
is
them.
getting screwed selling it for $25-$50. So I mean that's the other side of that.
It's very seldom you get to screw the scalper.
Exactly, because they're always making
funny
money.
how that works.
Somehow they're always making money.
Well,
regardless.
I got them before the 21 New Year's, like the day before they announced that they were going to move the shows. It was $300 for 4-day passes on StubHub, so I bought them.
Mhm.
And
That was
the
one of
next
the
day
best
they
moves.
moved it, and the person refused to transfer them to me.
That was
The
one of
guy
the
was-
best. I did the same thing. I bought a couple off of SeatGeek right before because we knew it was changing, and people were unloading them. So you got that really good deal. That was like the best. I felt finally got a good deal. But yeah,
I had to argue with StubHub, that this guy screwed me over, and I should be getting my 2 tickets for $300 each, and they gave me seats in a better section. They like covered it, and they double charged this guy for screwing me.
Yeah.
How un-Ticketmaster of them.
I was gonna say that is exactly ticket.
Dude, I was all over Twitter, fucking yelling and screaming on their post and calling them out.
By
They
the
were
way,
like,
though,
"Shut
real
up,
quick,
dude."
speaking of Ticketmaster, Beyonce just announced her tour is coming, and another giant on sale is going to happen, and it'll be interesting to see how the swarm from the Beehive works with Ticketmaster, just like it did with the Swifties. I mean,
Oh my
maybe
god,
these are
the
the two people to
Swifties and the
finally bring it
Beehive
down.
together.
What?
The Swifties
Yeah.
and the Beehive together. Oh man.
You don't want to see that coming to Congress.
Oh god.
They got DC surrounded.
Oh man, I love all the different names of the different like fan bases and shit. It's amazing.
Jam band's always like Spafford has the Spaff nerds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you made it to tier 3 if you have a dedicated
have
fan
if
group
you have
who've given themselves a name.
I think the Killers have the best fan club base name, and they're all called the Victims. I think that's the best.
That's awesome. I for many years considered myself a moron. Like I thought, like even more than like Phish and stuff. I loved that classification.
Yeah, isn't that politically incorrect though to call yourselves that?
I don't know, man.
I don't know, man.
What are you asking me for? Llama didn't show up to work tonight. Okay.
Fucker. Damn
Fucking
interns.
their filters gone.
All right.
Oh,
All right. So
man.
where were we?
I don't know. Chat, what were we talking
Fish prices and
Fish
East,
prices,
and then
yeah.
just sort of ticket prices in general.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I think they're probably, Kev, you said this, they'll probably announce the next tour or do the on sale for Mexico, right?
Yeah, the Tuesday before when everyone's flying out and they're freaking out trying to do it Friday from Mexico.
Yeah. Which this tour, these rumors, which I've keep following up on it every day. I look at the different venues and I check.
Obsessive.
I do. Well, I'm trying to deliver some decent information and not just like, take it for granted. But so I check, the forums and net and PT and Reddit, and I look at each of the venues, everything. And now I'm more and more convinced that this latest round of rumors is accurate. And I have to say, it's kind of a shit tour. Like when you take the initial excitement and the mystery and like the rumors, and you just look at it, you're like, compared to last year was, and I know like for the Midwest and the West, it wasn't as exciting as the East Coast, but like last year they played a lot of fucking shows, and it was a great tour. It traveled well, right? You could go in order, venue to venue to venue, and have such a great tour. And I feel like if what the rumor is the extent of the tour, doing Alpharetta, Wilmington, what was it? And then coming up into New York, and then doing Star Lake and Syracuse, and that's it. And then Dick's, it's like, I don't know, man. But it'll be interesting to see how the prices are compared to last year after this LA bullshit and Berkeley bullshit.
It's true. I'm interested. I'm really interested to see what they do and what they play and where the venues are. And like, even if they do the MSG run, what the tickets again will be.
So I want to do a couple Dead and Company because this is it this summer. So if I'm going to spend big money, it might be on one of those shows. But I really want to do something like Peach Fest or something where I could see a bunch of bands for a whole weekend and just hang out and get back to my roots, what I feel like are my roots with jam band scene,
Yeah. I would love to do it. Yeah, I think festival, that's really, I think Phish has been missing a lot.
Or summer camp.
Yeah.
Not to cut you off. Yeah, Phish has been missing a lot without doing a festival, but they're like, screw it, we can play Madison Square Garden in the air conditioning for 16 shows.
We don't have to be on the road, and we can just stay here and go home at night.
I can go home. Yeah, Trey's like, fuck it, I live around the corner.
It is kind of selfish, though. It's kind of like a prick move when you think about it. Right? Like, I understand 95% of you don't live in the city, and this is going to make it 10 times more expensive, but I live, uptown, so fuck you guys. But I mean, it's Trey, right? I think he earned that right, I guess.
I think he did. So, well, if it does, are you like, would you be trying to go to any shows, or you're taking off too this summer, huh?
Yeah, well, we're expecting. I have my second kid. Actually, I don't know if I told you guys. We found out it's a girl, so I'm gonna have another baby girl.
Save you all that money on clothes.
I know. I'm so fucking thrilled because my first is a girl, so. But yeah, now I'm gonna be outnumbered. The 3 girls against me. So I'm probably just gonna be webcasting. But I think the exception would be a festival, like if Phish did a festival or went to a festival, or maybe if there's a good festival with a good lineup, I might call the in-laws or my parents up to watch Evie for the weekend. I might do that. That would be great. But yeah, I don't know. It's cool. Like last year, I went to way too many fucking shows, and it's not like a braggadocious thing. It's almost like you're witnessing like a man at his AA meeting. Like,
right.
Hi, I'm Wook. I have a problem, but I'm cool with it. Like I'm glad I did it, but I'm also completely cool with not doing it this year and kind of just chilling out. Like there was this weird pressure I felt after like the whole pandemic, everything shutting down. Like I felt like I had to see every fucking show that I could see. If there was even a hint of a possibility that I could potentially make it, I had to make it. Right. And like there was no discussion or choice. It was make it and then figure out everything else later. Figure out your credit card or the work or the other shit later. And that's irresponsible. I'm not saying I regret it. Like it was fucking a blast. Well, how many I saw like 22 shows last year. Like that's way too many fucking shows for a single year when you're my age. So now this year I'm gonna chill and I'm gonna, hang out with the fam and webcast and do the after shows
But like we were just talking about, like in 21 when I did the West Coast run, I feel like it was it was affordable. Like I did everything and I didn't break the bank compared to like what I just spent at MSG and what I just blew on spring tour. So I feel like
that machine fucked me up though.
Or what you want to call it, but it's crazy the pricing and just how that affects things. And
2022 had MSG to start end to end the year.
Right.
Yeah.
It was such an expensive way to go see the band.
I spent more in April last year going to those 4 shows than I did the 4 shows going to Dick's. And I flew to Dick's. I drove to New York. I mean,
yeah.
Man. That's true. And I didn't escape New York either time without COVID, so I got bookend with that too.
I
Which
forgot you got it the second time too.
That
Yeah.
sucks.
which also
say no.
sucks.
That sucks.
so
That's
no.
why they
So
got.
are they gonna do Dick's? Is
Festival.
Dick's?
Yeah, they're Dick's is in
I'm
the.
sure yeah.
No, they're definitely gonna do Dick's. I
Yeah,
think the only thing that they're not doing, and I hate to say it, but based on what we're seeing, I don't think they're doing a festival this year. And everybody was like really optimistic, the 40th and everything, thinking that this would be the year they do it. But by this time of year, every time they've done a festival, there's been some leak because you have to get permitting, you have to go into the
somebody was at the school board, the board
planning.
meeting, the local zoning
Right.
board.
Right.
So unless they're doing like a completely private property somewhere that has some like, like a Montana fucking
Right.
festival or something, like I don't, or maybe an end of year, like there's a possibility they could do like a December, the 40th
your
anniversary thing, but
Dick's and Mexico are your festivals now. If you want that experience, then you either go down to Mexico and you spend all the money to be on the beach, or you go to Dick's, even though you got to stay in a hotel, it still has the best lot scene that you have. You know?
Isn't it interesting though? Like Mexico, it's 3 nights, but they've added 1 set night 1. But Dick's is 4 nights, 2 sets every night now. So like they've kind of
maybe it has to do with the staff there, like or
probably
you're getting people in, so
the ticket sales probably dropped, so they probably had to up the equation, the ante a little bit.
There. And I think with Dick's, they're like, well, we can definitely sell out another night, so we might as well.
Right, and you have mobilization costs and setup, and it's a long weekend. And and in a lot of ways, those are, and not even those, just those. Like if you look at the last 2 years, like the Deer Creek weekend, the Alpine weekend, the AC run, like you kind of have these mini festival weekends or run weekends, but it's not though. It's not, because there's an entirely different thing with the festivals, with the theming and the creativity,
the on-site restaurants, the camping. Like when you stay on site, it's totally different.
The bubble,
getting up at 6 a.m. to use a fresh spotter pot, waiting for the guy to come clean it and hopping right in.
If you could stay on lot at Dick's or Deer Creek or one of these places, you could convince me. I would say, all right, you find your spot on lot, you park there, and it's up to you if you want to leave and go to a hotel or camp out there, right? Like it used to be. That would be enough, I think. But since you can't do that shit anymore, no, it's not fucking enough. I think we need to have another festival. That is what built this fan base, in my opinion. Like really what solidified it and brought it to that next level.
The Clifford Ball.
Right, the Clifford Ball. Right, it was the gasoline on the fire. Like, yes, it's the music. Yes, it's the taping, and it's how they utilize the internet, and it was the right place at the right time, and it was the ability, like, to still go out and play Nectars and all these like bars and shit, because like that was still a thing. Like, yes, I get all of what made Phish, but what threw the fuel, the gasoline on the fire, and blew it up to what it is was the fucking festivals. And then after Curveball, I feel like they were just like, fuck you guys. I don't want to do it anymore. I think Trey's watching, and I think this is my petition to you, Trey. Fucking give us a festival, man. Like, is that hard?
I guess it is. I don't know.
But I think to your point, it's one of those things where if it doesn't work out, or there's so many logistics now, and there's so many, I don't know, it's a lot.
I wonder how much money they lost. Even though I know they had insurance for Curveball, I just wonder what the cost to them as an organization was.
All right, so I don't know anything like officially, right? But I think
rumor and speculation.
No, but my interpretation of what I know of them is it's the emotional and mental loss that fucked them up. I don't think, even if they lost $1 million, I don't think that would have impacted their decision. I think the fact that the fans were in the venue, right, that how close they got, and to disappoint that many people and what that did emotionally to the band, I think it's like they have some PTSD with that shit.
And what they had planned,
understand.
and what was, and the installations and everything that went into it and what they were going to do. So I think it's, to your point, yes, that's tough.
But Goose is having their festival this year, Fred Fest. So
Oh, I wasn't even going to acknowledge it. I'm like, we're just the kind of channel. We'll put your bag of dick comment on the screen. I'm not afraid of that comment.
But I always like to say though, without Curveball, we never got Casbot and that incredible Halloween show. So
And they have
something
given
good
us so much other great shit besides
came
the
out of it.
festivals, the New
Right.
Year's, the Halloweens, everything else.
Can-
What
can-
year was Curveball?
17, 16.
Was that pre or post Baker's? Because Baker's was 17.
So it was pre.
Well, Magna was 15. I think it was post. If we had a
Okay.
fucking producer, somebody could look this shit up. Chat. Let me know what year Curveball
I think it was
was.
2018. It says.
I think it was 18.
Curveball.
That
God,
sucks.
that's an embarrassment of riches. You get Magna Ball, then 2 years later you get the Baker's Dozen, and then you get Curveball. And it's like we were getting spoiled, and then fucking tides turn and step to the line and have to listen to fucking
It was the end.
19. Thanks,
Right.
Jace. Josh.
So another band that's celebrating a big milestone is Humphreys this year with 25
Yeah.
years. And I was wondering if T would explain to me what was going on with that.
The collectibles, the NFTs.
Yeah, with the NFTs that they're doing, because apparently this is the next big thing.
It is brilliant. Like, I'm glad somebody's finally stepping up and doing it. And, like they were doing, you get different like viewpoints, like you can just watch it from which is where you can put the CK5 cam is by the NFT and just watch from whichever angle you want. You just want to watch the lights, fine. And then you get to like automatically watch the shows after, download the shows after. I think there's so much
I think you got to give a layman explanation because I don't know if everybody's as connected.
How do you buy this?
So wait. Let me give the general and then let T go into the details. So for the 25th, they're doing this not too fancy thing where you can use I think they call them collectibles, but there's basically an NFT, right? Non-fungible token or whatever to get access. And then it's not this highly produced show. It's a very simple, watered down show that is essentially free for anybody that has gotten this token. I just wanted to set the setting because we jumped right in, and I feel like there's a lot of people that are like, "What the fuck are you guys talking about? Who's this Humphreys and what is an NFT?"
And it's like they're the first ones to really go for it and try it. Like I think they sold them last year or something. I remember when they were doing it, Kevin. We were talking about it. Somebody's finally getting on that, and then this year they're doing sort of the utility, as they say, out of it, which is this first thing, which was getting to watch the show from the angle that you wanted, or from the soundboard angle, and then download the shows post show or the videos post show and watch them. I think it's the beginning. I think eventually this is one way around Ticketmaster and gives the money to the bands to just sell these things and then give people that have these the access to the tickets and pay through that way. And then you're cutting out Ticketmaster and having to go through that. I think there's a lot of utility and future in that, which there's a lot of good when it comes to art and artists and musicians and stuff with NFTs, because again, you control the utility, you control what people get out of it once they own it. So once they kind of catch on and get going, I think there'll be a little bit of future. I mean, right now everybody's so, never buy a JPEG because of blah, 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 which, fine. These aren't that. These are something completely different. I know Coachella just did it. They were extremely expensive for the Coachella ones, but it was a lifetime pass. It was
the utility is the key, though. Like I don't want to be one of those like haters or whatever, but when it's like the card collection, right? It was essentially fancy baseball cards for a while when it was just the NFT. It was collecting and the speculation, and it was the value was just very volatile, and that's fine. Like I'm not talking. I don't judge people that are into that, right? Like I'm into collections of shit with comics and shit where the value. But I feel like once you utilize blockchain with these utilities and bring real world value that's already measurable in other currencies and tie it to, and then you add the collectible value on top of it, that's where it becomes something that's exciting. I think there's a future there.
Right. And it's worth the value. Like if you, like we're talking about ticket prices, like if you were just to plop down $300, $500 on an NFT and say, okay, now I have early access to ticket buying. I have access to all the
And
shows.
scalpers won't be buying hundreds of NFTs so they can get access to hundreds of spots getting tickets.
Right. So, and again,
Yeah.
it puts the money into the band's pocket because they're the
Yeah.
ones that have control over it.
Brownie from Disco Biscuits is big into the NFT
Yeah.
thing, I think.
And I think the more musicians see the value in it and start understanding it and get more technologically advanced with what it is, and to your point, Tim, it continues to grow from just collecting JPEGs and that sort of thing and starting to see real world utility with it. There's a future there. And it's one of those Web3 exciting things that, hey, maybe there is a way around all this crap that we just complain about and nothing changes with Ticketmaster and ticket prices and these kind of things. So I understand there's a lot of, debate and hostility towards them, but maybe at some point this is sort of a mini revolution that we need and is worth something.
I heard that Snoop Dogg, the Chronic appeared on Spotify today, and apparently Snoop Dogg owns the rights and lets Spotify do it. And I heard that it had something to do with NFT markets crashing and stuff like that.
And he's been huge in the NFT world with releasing music through it and a lot of utility with all of his stuff and that kind of thing. And I mean, right now we're in such a bad run with everything. Crypto's down, NFTs are down, everything's down. So
who's that fucking guy that like ripped off of like thousands of people?
With SBJ, or he has 3 initials.
SBF,
Yeah.
the FTX thing. And that's the problem. There's a lot of shady
The
Brady.
guy
shit.
from Shark Tank was like crying his eyes out.
And
He's like, "I
Brady was
trusted him."
involved.
Totally. And like, and you have like Portnoy from Barstool. It's like, wait, I bought Bitcoin. Where's my Bitcoin? And you're like, dude, you don't understand this at all. So like, there's still people that don't even understand what you're getting into with it. And then you have this other element of like,
I
what they
don't
call
really
rugs,
understand
where
it
people
that
just
well.
sell shit and then bail. Like it's a great scam in the NFT world. You sell
I
these
feel like
things
this would be a very bad opportunity, but I'm going to take it anyway to announce Wook coming soon.
Yeah, exactly. And see, that's the problem though, is the rugging that they call rugging, where like you set up a whole thing, have people buy in, you make $1 million off it, and then just leave, and then they're all stuck with a completely
And
worthless
that's
JPEG.
what we're doing.
Wait, I can make $1 million by
Yeah,
launching
that's
Wook
why haven't you told us this before? What coin will be available tomorrow?
tomorrow.
Then
We're gonna
no.
do it. Kevin and I are gonna split an 8-ball and figure this shit out. We're gonna have Wook on the market.
It's
God
happening
damn it.
right now.
I think that's all right. So for like the layman idiots like me, though, the other cool part of what Humphreys is doing is the nothing too fancy aspect of it. You and I have been talking about this, I guess all of us, about like the CK5 cam and how much nicer it would be to have a boiled down, simpler experience with the webcast. I'm really excited about that aspect of it. I think that too is something that they could set an example for other bands.
And I think anyway, being in control of how you want to watch the show is something cool too. Or just, like to your point, you don't need someone else directing the show, showing you what they think is the important thing to be watching right now. Like if Trey's ripping a cool solo and we're focused on Fishman or something, you're like, no, I want to see what's going on there. And we never get to see the cool lights when, you're at the show, and how many times are you sitting back there and he's doing something incredible with the lights. And then on the webcast, they're focused on up close on the stage and stuff. So I think there's ways around that. And I know, just like, not to plug it, but I'm going to plug it. Our Taper's Choice videos that's coming out.
It's cool.
The 4 boxes that I went ahead and shot it with 4 cameras and couldn't decide how to cut it. And the lighting was so screwed up that we just went ahead and put all 4 angles up on the
cool,
screen
though.
at once.
It's very cool.
And
it's a really cool way to watch it.
When does that come out?
Hopefully this weekend.
Maybe Sunday night instead, because there's no football. What else will you have to do?
It's true.
Watch Taper's Choice.
But when you watch it, I mean, I think it's a cool way to see it because you're seeing everything happen at once. Each player playing their instrument, and sometimes 2 of them from different angles on the screen, and it gives you a cool perspective. And it's just anything you can do, I think, to make it more interactive and make people feel like they're seeing what they want to see and not what you're forcing them to see, I think is a good thing.
Yeah. All right, so I want to take one last pivot on conversation just because Llama's not here and this would piss him off. Before I do that, though, in case we lose anybody on this last topic, go ahead and like this video. If you're watching this after the fact, leave a comment. Let us know what you think about all this shit. Subscribe, ring the bell, do all that other standard YouTube shit. You know what the 68% of the people watching this are not subscribers. I don't understand this. Fucking subscribe. Okay, anyway, we got that shit.
Here's the dance. Well, let me show you the dance.
Sorry, do it.
It's the meat stick. It's the wook stick.
It's a subscribe stick.
All right. So now that Llama didn't show up for work and it's our fucking channel, what do you make of this whole DC slate? This fucking James Gunn announcement? Because I'm kind of like, this is fucking weak sauce. All right, we're gonna do like 4 minutes of comic book shit. So if you want to bounce, it's fine. But I really want.
I'm glad that Peacemaker is going to get its second season.
Really?
Yes.
All right.
I liked Peacemaker.
No, it's okay. It's good. It's decent. I mean, it's not great. It's not like revolutionary. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna fucking get HBO Max for Peacemaker. But you fucking get rid of Henry Cavill. You cut all this other continuity. You cut the Snyderverse out. But then you're like, yeah, I'm gonna keep my wife and I'm gonna keep Peacemaker and Suicide Squad, and it's good. It's not a full reboot. Like, really?
Did he say it wasn't a full reboot? I didn't catch that.
Well, the second show that's coming out under the new DCU is a segue between the first season and the second season of Peacemaker.
And I read that there's two different Batmans. There's going to be an alternate.
Well, there's
universe.
Elseworlds, which is like the Matt Reeves Batman, which is cool. I like that, dude. The new Batman looks awesome, right? With Damian Wayne, Batman's son, who's fucking Robin, and he's like this. He was raised by
It's going to be hopefully a little more violent, a little bit more.
And the Bat family, it's fucking sick. That's cool. The Authority is dope. That looks sick as shit. Everything I loved about, I'm really excited about like the properties. I wish he just fucking cut out all the bullshit. Like, don't release Flash and Shazam and Aquaman 2. Fuck it. Take the loss, write it off on taxes. Whatever.
I want to see Aquaman too. I always had a soft spot for Aquaman.
You're the guys. I was wondering. I'm like, who's gonna go fucking see this movie? No,
I'm not gonna go see it. When it comes on streaming services, I'll check it out. But no, I'm not.
Pirate Bay.
Yeah, Pirate Bay.
I still think he should have done like they did with Joker. I mean, I'm glad they're keeping that too. And like you said, that's on the other, like that and the new Batman will be separate from this new universe he's creating. But I think in the universe he's creating, instead of doing the gods and monsters as phase 1 or whatever, I think it would have been cool to do villains and build out the Legion of Doom and like do 1.5 films about like the Lex Luthor origin story and bring him in, and like short films about that and build out the bad guys and then bring us into the heroes. Like,
wasn't there a bonus scene after the last Batman with Lex Luthor?
Yeah, and something that and just like,
or maybe it was the Adam movie, the Black Adam. Maybe it was the bonus scene. So that's done. That's
done.
That's
done.
But I mean, it would be so much cooler, and then tease sort of at the end of Luthor, like Clark Kent being there. You know what I mean, or something that then is like, oh shit, okay.
It seems like all he wanted to get rid of was Black Adam.
and Henry Cavill
and the Snyderverse, basically. I think Warner was like, how do we get rid of Snyder?
I think he's going to end up keeping Momoa and Godot, and I think really James Gunn came.
I heard Wonder Woman was done.
Well, he didn't. Yes, in the script 3, because the script was terrible. He said,
but yeah, I don't think it's Godot though. I think it was just that movie.
Right,
I think James Gunn came in and was like, "Fuck that Henry Cavill guy, and fuck The Rock. Like, I don't like these assholes."
Yeah, but I heard she wants so much money for this third movie that they were kind of like, eh.
Gal Gadot?
Yeah.
No way. No. All right. First of all, yeah, she probably wants it and she fucking deserves it. And if Robert Downey Jr. or fucking any other actor that was like one of the top 3 of their franchise came in, you'd give the money. She deserves it. She built. I mean, the Snyderverse is kind of.
But his whole second one getting rid of Henry was like the Superman story he wants to tell. He doesn't fit that. Like, he's not that Superman, so he wanted to bring his own Superman to tell the story.
Right, a younger Superman. But here's what's fucked up. I'm going to tell you what's fucked up. The Batman story, The Brave and the Bold, is with Damian Wayne, who's a fucking kid who's now a teenager, which means minimum Bruce Wayne's going to be 40 fucking years old.
Yeah.
So you say the excuse for getting rid of Henry Cavill is because you want to cast the fucking young
Superman. That's the
right.
story he wants to
And then
tell.
you're gonna have
in that
Batman
story.
be 44 and Superman be 24. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Unless
That's
he's
bullshit.
finally planning on moving away from Batman altogether, because Superman doesn't really age, right? Like he's Superman, so he can be whatever, and like he can go from a kid
until
to
he was Superman, and then he
right,
stopped
and then he
aging.
stops it. Right,
There's
but
like
Batman
a dozen
is,
people that stuck in here with us. I thought for sure we were gonna lose everybody.
there's comic fans. See, there's a
Yeah,
crossover
man.
with Fish and comics.
There's a little bit.
I think
So,
we
what are you
should-
most looking forward to since you're stuck with what you're stuck with?
out of the DC slate?
Yeah.
I think the Authority. I think for James Gunn, that is the story. That was a run that when I was a kid. So you were like fucking on Dead Tour or something when that came out.
Yeah.
But that is a offbeat story. Like it reminds me a lot of like the Guardian style. And I think James Gunn is perfect for that shit and could be fucking brilliant. I think that is the shit. I think whatever they're doing with Peacemaker and I forget her name, the black lady that's like the
Right.
from
Walker.
Well, yeah, I'm not thrilled about that. I think the Superman's super vague at this point. Who the fuck knows what they're gonna do with it? But yeah, I think the Authority is cool. Well, you know what I'm really excited about though, and this will be the last comic book thing for me is fucking this next phase of Marvel though. Phase 4 is kind of bullshit, but Ant-Man looks dope as shit. Kang looks
2
so
weeks.
fucking good. Jonathan Majors is a fucking man. I can't wait for that
And
shit.
it's so soon. It's like 2 weeks.
I
can't
know,
wait.
man. I can't
Finally.
wait.
I know. It's
I
exciting.
can't wait. Holy shit. Should we get out of here?
Yeah.
All right. I didn't make credits because we didn't have a guest, so I'm just gonna say goodbye. Like and subscribe.
Love you guys. Love chat. Thank you.
Love you. Hey, we did it. We survived. See you next week.